Welcome back everybody to another Black Raven update. I'm sorry to keep everyone waiting, but we are now up to Devlog 4. Devlog 4. Actually, hang on one second. Hang on one moment. Alrighty, that's better. He copied me, guys. He actually copied me first. He copied me first. So I've been busy grinding on the world building aspect of this game's demo. Before, I felt like I've made enough progress on combat, movement, and other things. So then I began work on the actual levels of the game. Things like combat and animations are still unfinished, but I'm up to the point where I can start the levels and have them both finished at around the same time. Anyways, have a seat for yourself. Here is the first look at what environments will be like. Here we are actually walking through the prologue level where the main character Ivan is in his normal attire. And just for context, in the beginning of the game, Ivan is just a chill, normal dude, you know, going about his life as a farmer until his village is pillaged, his wife murdered, and himself left for dead. The prologue level is linear in construction and is meant to be a guide for the player on how to use the controls. A tutorial will pop up on screen, prompting players on how to look around with the camera using their mouse and how to walk with the keyboard. A lot has changed since the last episode, especially with foliage. The foliage basically had a massive upgrade, and now there are new features present. Players can now walk through the foliage and the foliage will move out of the player's way. I also added a slight noise shader on the foliage so they appear to be moving in the wind. You can even see it with trees as well. And I added another feature where Ivan and other NPCs can sprint through foliage, causing particles to fly up from their wake from the disturbance. Here you can see enemies do the same thing. Also, in addition to these features, Ivan can now swing and cut flowers. This is like my favorite thing right here. Here you can see Ivan swinging his sword around and cutting the heads of the sunflowers off. They will stay that way once they're cut as well. This was done by playing a particle and sound effect when Ivan hits the flower, and then the sprite renderer quickly swaps out the full healthy head of the flower with a prune version, perfectly imitating like a decapitation. When everything is added together, it truly does make the foliage and flowers look seamless and alive and interactable, I don't know, in the world. Something that you will notice in this specific level are post-process volume transitions. When Ivan is walking through the forest, the world slowly turns from sunny, warm, and happy, gradually down to dark, cold, and foreboding, I don't know. I included this so that the player will slowly realize that nighttime is setting in and something very bad is about to happen. Because as you know, something bad does happen right after this level. And this pretty much sets up what will come next in terms of, you know, the cutscene. Now, the thing about level design is that you have to place a bunch of foliage and props and whatever everywhere. And the more that there is in the level, the slower that it will all render together. And, you know, the harder it is on your computer. So I had to do some tricky optimization to keep the game running at a good frame rate and not run like a 12-year-old PS4 booting up Apex Legends for like the 10,000th time. For instance, since all the foliage had to make slight sound effects when Ivan brushes up against them, every single foliage instance in the scene had an audio source connected to it, meaning that there were hundreds upon hundreds of deadweight audio sources on screen at a time, giving my PC a stroke. Of course, that was all fixed, but that was just the start of it. At the beginning of making the game, I designed the foliage system to use like sprite renderers. And the thing about sprite renderers was that it didn't mip-map any of the image instances that it used, meaning that the images of flowers and grasses weren't being compressed or culled properly, making the game run like donkey dick. So I redesigned the entire foliage system to rely on 2D planes other than the sprite renderers. This fix works way better as I can now incorporate custom shaders on foliage and custom materials rather than fixed image instances. Plus, these new 2D planes are technically 3D objects, making them be able to cull each other out, which the sprite renderers couldn't do. So in short, this new 3D system is just better than the old sprite-based system. When adding these optimization fixes, I got the game running from like 90 FPS per average back up to like a 110 FPS per average. But of course, this is only in the editor, and the game usually runs at a higher frame rate when it's all built. Probably around 10 to 30 frames higher, but it really depends. So we are looking at a rough 140 FPS estimate. But that's only on my type of hardware, which you can see. I'll just show it. I'll show you what I have. Don't roast me, alright? I'm gonna buy a new PC soon, alright? At the end of the day, I would want this game to run on a triple digit frame rate for a, you know, like a run of the mill PC in today's PC gaming market. Besides, the game is not even finished. Okay, it's not finished. It is not finished, alright? It's not finished. And more optimizations will be done in the future. Other than FPS, the game's demo will probably be less than a gigabyte since the tiny ass pixelated assets take up all space.
So don't worry a little head about this game being big enough, like...
Trust me, buddy, it's big enough, alright?
I had to crunch the draw distance for the camera down since everything you see was being rendered all at once. Even the things you couldn't see were being rendered. And then to hide the pruned draw distance, I added some fog to the world so you couldn't see where the world ended in view, if you get what I mean. And then on top of just the basic Unity fog, I made some like custom mist or fog looking objects and popped those into the world as well. The new mist objects fade when you get close to them, and they also like slightly move around, so it looks like they all blend into like one big mass. I even remade the skybox so it had trees in it. Like, as you can see, this is the old one, right? Looks like poo, and then this is the new one, right? So I did this because I wanted at all times the player was at least looking at some sort of, you know, body of trees or something, in case, like, I don't know, the render distance called in case the draw distance revealed too much. I also made some changes to the FOV transitions when the characters walk, so the characters feel more fluid when switching from like just, you know, idle standing to walking to running and vice versa. In the prologue level, I'm gonna include some lush dynamic scenery and various props to tell the story. I added in the early renditions of water. I will have levels where Ivan has to walk through or like wade through water, so that's definitely something to look forward to. Of course, it's like unfinished right now, but at the moment, but I will eventually make it look fully integrated with like splashing and like, you know, like the water footsteps and everything. You name it, everything will be added, okay? So more on what the levels mean. At the start of Black Raven, Ivan is lured away from his family, okay? And that's when his family is, you know, and his son Oleg gets abducted by the pillagers. Ivan comes back too late and nearly suffers a similar fate. He almost dies, but he frees himself and swears revenge against his attackers and embarks on the search for his missing son. This is when we transfer to a new reborn Ivan, one with a bloodlust, and then we begin a level where we are finally introduced to combat. This is the second level now. I of course plan to have animated 2D cutscenes that segue like in between cutscenes, you know, in between levels. So like you finish a level, cutscene, level, etc. But right now the focus is on level building and continuing the construction of the, you know, main mechanics. But once that is done, I will begin animating the cutscene. So that will be something to look forward to too. As you can see right now, this specific level right here basically has not even started yet. Like, it's just the block out phase right now. And as stated before, the enemies, as you see right now, still haven't had any work on them done on them since the last video, so they're still unfinished as well. And of course the game is riddled with bugs to fix, especially with like the sword fighting play controller, but you know, that's gonna come later. And speaking of animation, I feel like I will go over all the sprite sheets again and do some touch-ups, since not everything looks perfect, like, you know, the way I want it. For example, the cape in this animation doesn't even move properly. To be honest, I was kind of lazy when I did it, so I'm gonna fix that too, so don't worry guys. I know you've been pointing it out. I'll fix it. Shh. Don't worry, I'll fix it. And that's just among other things. So yes, to answer a lot of people's questions, the animations will be touched up. I'm reading everyone's comments, by the way. I'm reading all of your comments, okay? So like, I appreciate everybody's constructive input and feedback. Like, I'm not being sarcastic. Like, I'm actually taking it and I'm processing through it. Guys, I apologize for the slow rate of uploads and videos, as I'm literally like balls deep in university work at the moment. But the good news is that I'm almost finished my degree. And once that happens, the rate of which the videos will be released will be higher, and therefore more of the game will be completed at a quicker rate. Yippee. Anyways guys, thank you to everyone who's subscribed, by the way. We're now like at 143, I think. I'm not sure, but thank you guys. Thank you for subscribing. Keep them coming, alright? Keep them coming. Feel free to wishlist Black Raven on Steam, as like more wishlists means a bigger outreach. I have a Kickstarter campaign that will be releasing soon, and also a Patreon as well, even though like nobody's signed up to it. But yeah, that'll all come later. Okay, Gooners, I know this is a short one, but it's pretty much it for this episode. I'll see you Gronks on the other side.